Hello, I'm AQUATIC and welcome back to another video. Today I have some important Minecraft information to share with you all, and it is to do with the update AQUATIC. So as you all do know, this is the next update coming out for Minecraft on all platforms, and it's really important because it does change all of the water physics across the entire game. A lot of people were scared about the way they revealed it to work at Minecon, but they said that they would change it, and they did change it to have this kind of hacky system before, and as of this week, they've now got the official system that they think they're going to be working with for the future. So I figured why not explain exactly how Minecraft update AQUATIC does change water, because it works in really interesting ways that essentially introduces a water half slab, and you might not believe that when you first see it, but when you first actually see it in the game and you see how it can interact, you'll see there's lots of weird situations that actually make that make sense. So yeah, let's talk about water, let's talk about the very strange ways it works in the update AQUATIC, and hopefully you do all enjoy the videos. Let's get straight into it, and let's start by explaining the very basics of how it works now, because at Minecon they showed it off as working in the simple way that if you have any, partial block, like a fence or like a slab, in between the way of the water, it will just go past the thing or through the thing, and then go out on the other side. However, they've changed that now, and they've changed that so that you won't break existing builds, and so that anything that involves signs, or all these sorts of things will still work. And but however, they have made one crucial change: the water source blocks are going to be affected. So this means that if you have a water source block, which previously could only exist as a full block of its own, now the water source block can exist alongside other partial blocks. So for instance, we can have a half slab underneath there, and it will work just fine. And again, that essentially introduces the weird situation of like, oh, so I guess this is like a water half slab now. And although it's a bit more complex than that, because again, water physics have changed, block physics have changed, that's kind of how you can think of this block, because that's kind of what it does. So yeah, we now officially have water half slabs in Minecraft, and I don't know, there's just something extra beautiful about the idea of like, it goes up to like my ankles in Minecraft, but it is a real thing that exists as of this update, and it means you have some really, really interesting situations you can do with that, because it also works with stairs now. So again, if we place stair blocks over there, so again, you gotta bear in mind that you can still get rid of it, because it works in the same way as before, but if we place a stair block there, it's still gonna work, which means we now have, what is that, like a quarter slab of water in Minecraft? There is literally this much of it, but you can still swim in it as if it was an entire block, and it will still flow as if it is one. So we remove this block right here. As you can see, it flows through the stairs back there, because again, right now they're like still got kind of choppy stuff. But yeah, that means you have the very weird situation where water can coexist with any partial block in the game, and that means you can't use these blocks to remove the water. So for instance, if we wanted to, let's make up a little hypothetical situation. Let's say we had an entire, little section closed off, and you wanted to, I guess scoop it up using half slabs. That won't work now, because if you do that, then what's going to happen is you'll just have the water above the half slab. So yeah, there's a few interesting things I feel like you can do with this. Again, layered beaches, for instance, will now work much better, because again, we just have the blocks there, or more realistically, you'd have sandstone there, and it just works just fine. And again, there's going to be a few really, really interesting situations, because you can swim through this, and there's stuff like that. But where I think this gets really crazy is that you can use this in very controlled experiments. So for instance, one of my favorite examples of this is like creating water source blocks to make it so you can have water flow over something. So we grab 2 buckets of water, for instance, and then we make a little bit of a tunnel that looks like this. So it's 3 blocks wide, and we have water on this side, and then we have water in the middle. The thing in the middle, it won't work just there. However, if we place one over here, then suddenly that becomes a source block, and then you can have that in the middle of the 2 blocks. And again, it goes out in very many interesting layers. But the simple explanation is there are 2 types of water. There always has been. There's flowing water and there's regular water. And now the regular water is the source blocks, if you will. That's what most people call them. The source blocks of water will now work alongside other things. And the really interesting use case for this, in my opinion, is the fact that now these water half slabs, as I mentioned before, can be moved by pistons. So because again, they're like tied into the block. Again, this is why I really think they're water half slabs and not just water alongside a slab, because they're essentially, the information is tied into the same thing as the block. So I have a prismarine half slab here, which by the way, because there's half slabs here, even though the water looks like it should flow, again, the current water physics mean there is a counterintuitive situation here, but it also means that you can use pistons to move these blocks. So for instance, you can see how they move. The whole 8 blocks, they flow over to here until all of a sudden, something weird just came up, until all of a sudden you get the, move them forwards, and then all of the water is moved forwards over to here. So you can tell how the game lagged the tiniest bit there when I did that, which again, not always a thing that happens. But yeah, the game like makes the tiniest bit of a movement right there, but it does still happen, and it does move all of the water, and it still doesn't flow over the edges because only the source blocks move. So yeah, there is now officially a way to move water in Minecraft. We don't know if this one is intentional, because again, it makes sense and there's no real way to specifically isolate this one, but it is an interesting thing that happens specifically as of this update. So yeah, I find this like seriously, look at that. Like how does that even work? I don't know, but it is a thing that does work like that. So yeah, that's what you got to keep in mind. Any one of your existing water builds will stay exactly the same because, again, water won't just flow through them. However, if you have a situation, and, you know, water won't be created on your existing blocks. So if right now, you know, in the current Minecraft update, if you had water, you would be able to put it out using, you know, stairs, and obviously the water won't just magically come back. But then else this update, you won't be able to have the situation where you have water just above it because it might create a source block on the thing. Because, yeah, that's a thing. So also, I should mention, you can't create water source blocks over a half slab. So again, this is another really useful change for existing compatibility. So we make a free-wired thing again here. So let's just say we already had a half slab in the middle, and then, you know, wrong side half slab. But let's say we already had a half slab in the middle, and then that's not half slab, is it? Let's say we had a half slab in the middle of this, which wasn't a full block, so remove both that, and then we put that back in there. It won't be able to create a source block over the half slab because, again, the water won't be able to flow there, which means sources cannot be formed. So if we remove that, place that there, as you can see, it can't flow to create the source block over it, but if we remove this and then put it back instantly, then the water would flow in the meantime, and it would mean that you would have a thing over the middle. So again, it's a very bizarre situation, but it is one that does work, and it is worth mentioning that this works with any, again, it will work with any partial block. Right now it doesn't. It works with chests and a few others right now, but at least the very interesting situation where if you have something like this, for instance, so again, let's grab two water buckets. How would you assume that this little thing right here works? How, you know, you'd assume that, like, oh yeah, you place one water in the center of that, right? But the truth is, you place a water in the corner, and then it flows outwards rather than inwards because it can't flow into the other blocks. And again, that's entirely counterintuitive. It doesn't really make much sense. It also is very confusing that you can scoop up that 1/4. You know, this is like 1/8 block of water right here. It's the tiniest amount of water that you can create in the game right now. It is still swimmable in, and I believe it will still stop full damage. In fact, let's confirm that one right here. As you can see, I'm going to fall into this 1/4 block of water. Okay, you know, that was a fail. We're going to try and jump into this 1/4 block of water right here, and it should still work. You know, falling into a 1/4 block is surprisingly hard. But yeah, that's because water physics don't discriminate about how much water there is. So even with a tiny amount like this, it's still going to work just fine if you can actually land it, which I apparently can't, which is just, it's crazy by itself. But it means that you have to individually fill in these blocks, which is, again, entirely counterintuitive. But it also means that you can do some very, very, I guess, new things that weren't possible before. So, for instance, if we make if we make an entire like area right here with filled just half slabs and then some stairs, then you can have areas where it's blocked off essentially. And again, like, because this looks like it's just a half slab with stuff on it, you can kind of create water art if you want to. So let's say we wanted to, I don't know why we want to do this, but we want to make like a, you know, a T for Toy Cat, but make it out of water or whatever. So we'll actually curve this one down like this, and then try and make this curve instead. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see, we're going to make a T for Toy Cat just over here. Look at that. That's wonderful, right? You can actually do that just fine in the current thing. So again, we'd have to have some way to stop it flowing off the edges here. I guess just half slabs like this. But it means that from above, this will magically actually create a T, for instance. So again, that should be how this works. Place a block there, assuming it doesn't flow out from the sides, which is just a weird... okay, so that's even weirder, what's happened right there. So again, that's a water glitch with the current update. But it means that if we do this, let's just grab a whole bunch of water buckets. Then what we can actually do is we can create water, which only goes in very specific predetermined places, just like this. So we can, again, this really seems a bit odd, but it does work entirely. And this is how they've said over and over again that they want the current water system to work. But it means that we just keep grabbing more water buckets. Then we can have this situation where we have a T made out of water. As you can see, it is in fact working. And we have a T made out of water, and even though it should be able to flow to places, although it's not flowing to most of the places it should be able to, so we just place blocks on all the sides that are causing issues. Then as you can see, we have the very weird situation where we have a water T that should be able to flow places, but that can't. I don't know why you'd want that. It's not even a very good T. It looks more like something else than a T, but it's something that you can do in the current update, and that is how water physics work as of 1.13 for Minecraft. So I hope I explained this well enough in this video. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like if you did like it, share if you liked it, subscribe if you're around here, and I'll keep you up to date with how water physics change, because if I'm being honest, I think there's a chance we'll see some slight changes on this one. Again, because there's a particularly strange situation where water will flow backwards through stairs, and I can't imagine that's intentional. Also, this is definitely a glitch. But yeah, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you did enjoy the video though, because I'll see you in the next one. Have a nice day. Goodbye.